Yo, what's going on, Interactors? Welcome to the X Interact podcast. I'm Eric. I'm joined here with Gaff. Just two of us today. We're going to be talking about some news, including Microsoft confirming that Gamepass cannibalizes sales, Redfall controversy going on this past week, and PSVR2 review roundup. So if you're into that, be sure to check out our show at twitch.tv/xinteract. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find us at YouTube at xinteract or youtube.com/xinteract. We have a website, podpage.com/xinteract, where you can check all that stuff out there. But in the meantime, Gaff, how you been doing?
I'm good, man. For once, I played a new game this week, so got something new to talk about.
Nice.
But, today's Sunday. We got Last of Us tonight, and you're still not watching it, are you?
No, I'm not willing to pay $15.99 a month for HBO Max, at least not yet. Maybe I'll wait until like the whole series is on there. But right now, I'm just not really interested in watching it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
Nothing about the show quality itself, just that right now, I'm just not in the TV mood. Like, I'm slacking on all the Disney Plus stuff right now. Like, I know Thor, Love and Thunder and Wakanda Forever have been on there for like at least months already. Like, I haven't watched those yet. I know Andor, I still haven't watched that as well.
You're missing out.
Bad Batch, I know is currently going on right now. I still haven't watched that at all. So I'm like, like on Disney Plus, I've cooled on a bit. I definitely was like high on it when it came out. It's just a lot of stuff comes out and there's like no break really. I think I might come back though for once Mandalorian comes back in March. And maybe I'll catch up with everything else. But right now I'm just like on a cooling period.
Bro, come on, be part of the moment.
Hey man, there's too much stuff going on right now, all right?
And how have you been?
I've been pretty good. I started a new job and I don't think I can technically say where I'm working at due to my employee stuff. I don't know exactly, but it is retail and it definitely is. I don't want to say like it's extremely hard work, but like I've been at a computer job for like 5 years, so being on my feet, move around a lot, it has been a little bit to getting readjusted to. But yeah, that's been good so far. I was closing shift on Friday night, and let me tell you, that was pretty busy. And I was dead tired that night that I literally woke up like at 2:30 yesterday. Like I slept for so long. I didn't realize I was like how tired I was.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but I think I'm a lot better today. So I'm ready to go for the podcast here.
I have experience in retail because I worked at a grocery store and I can relate to everything you just said for sure.
Yeah, I worked at a grocery store for like 1 year for like my first time job. And then like after that, I went to an office for like about 6 years, I think it is. And so now I'm back at retail. And yeah, it's definitely, I definitely don't miss, I don't want to say I don't miss it, but like it's just my life now. So got to get used to it.
Yeah, got to make those bucks.
Yeah. But enough about that. Let's get into our first news topic. This is from video games or gamesindustry.biz by Brendan Sinclair. Microsoft confirms Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Xbox Maker tells UK CMA it expects its titles to see a decline in base game sales for at least a year following inclusion into subscription service. So kind of want to just paraphrase this here. There's a quote here that says Microsoft also submitted that its internal analysis shows a redacted % decline in base game sales 12 months following their addition to Game Pass, the CMA noted in its report. So I don't want to get too much into the story here. I think the headline itself basically describes the whole article. But what do you think about that? Like that Game Pass cannibalizes game sales?
That just flips the narrative that Microsoft has been saying for the past, I don't know how many years.
Yes.
Right? Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like Phil Spencer himself has said Game Pass boosts game sales, and then this comes out, which I guess strictly is he's not being hypocritical. Cannibalizing and being a detriment, those aren't exactly synonymous. But what is essentially being admitted here is that less people would buy the full game if they have Game Pass. Which, I mean, I guess I've been sniffing the copium too this whole time because this totally makes sense.
Yeah. Like I don't want to say this is a surprise because I kind of feel like it's kind of obvious when you think about it. Like if it's on a subscription service, you're less likely to pay for it, you know? Like for me personally, like I really don't buy much on my Xbox. My Xbox is the Game Pass machine, and so if I'm playing anything, it's probably coming from Game Pass on there. And so I kind of see the truth to the truth. I mean, obviously it's true because they said it, but like I can see how it does cannibalize. I just wonder why Phil Spencer has been saying all this time it does promote game sales, because I can kind of
You
see
could
it.
be stretching the truth in a way because, okay, this anecdotally, I had to buy Hades because it was going to come off Game Pass and I wasn't going to finish it in time.
Yeah, and
So
I
that
think
was one instance
that's
of me
that's
having to
another
buy a
example
game.
you can promote with sales. Games going off the Game Pass, they are like included in a discount that you can buy them personally for. So
That is
those
true.
helps.
Also, you do get a discount.
Yeah, DLC sales also would help out a lot with that too. Like, you promote you to buy DLC
Yeah,
because Game Pass typically does not include DLC. There was like a few instances
exactly.
where all the Destiny DLC was on there, and then Gears 5 also had the Ultimate Edition on there. But other
Yes.
than that, I can't really think of any games that provide DLC on Game Pass.
So it wasn't a total white lie. But so to be honest, the most interesting. Okay, well, first of all, like we as gamers, like we don't give a shit about Game Pass cannibalizing game sales because
Yeah.
it just matters to Microsoft margins. It still benefits us no matter what. I don't care how much money Microsoft is making as long as they keep doing it. And well, it's gonna happen one day, but for now, the price of Game Pass hasn't really changed forever. So none of this really affects us. What I think the bigger picture from all of this is that Microsoft is admitting to this in order to have this whole Activision deal be approved by what is it, the EU regulators. So
Yeah.
Microsoft, they're in a way they're playing dirty because they're just letting all the skeletons out of their closet and just throwing everything out there, everything except the kitchen sink, in order to get this deal approved. Because Sony's trying to prop Microsoft up as this big player, which yes, they are a big player, but they're not as oppressive, not nearly as oppressive as Sony is trying to make them look. So this piece of news is just the most recent of many examples in Microsoft saying, just trying to make them appear more meager and more of the underdog. It's just really funny seeing all this dirty laundry being aired out.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying there. Like, Microsoft is trying to make themselves look like the little guy here. Like, if you looked at their comments about Call of Duty, they're just like saying like, "Oh, Call of Duty is nothing special. Call of Duty, it might sell the most, but it's always like ranked low in the ratings, even though like Call of Duty sells ginormous amounts of money every year.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not something small, that's for sure. And like you said, yeah, like they're trying to just make themselves look as favorably as possible to get this deal to go through, while Sony is trying to make them seem like they're a true threat. And like, it's a lot of back and forth between these two. Like, there's reports out there that Sony is like not even talking to Microsoft anymore, that they just
Allegedly,
yeah. And so it's just a lot of bickering and back and forth between the two. And like, I feel like we're never gonna hear the end of all this stuff until that deal either goes through or doesn't. And I feel like we're still a ways away from that for sure.
If this thing doesn't go through, then I wonder, does Microsoft, do they get a refund?
I don't
It's been billions.
I don't know. I don't know how any of that stuff works. I'm not a business person here, but I know
Yeah.
there was also a statement that came out that Bobby Kotick did say he's staying at Activision Blizzard if the deal doesn't go through. And so that also presents a whole bunch of issues there because he's not a great guy. All the stuff that we like heard about it, all the stuff we talked about like last year about this acquisition, like, and like Microsoft, or excuse me, Activision and Blizzard in general, like a lot of the problems are under his leadership. And if he stays, I don't know how I feel about that really. Like, it's obviously not great, but I feel like Activision and Blizzard are just going to keep doing the trend that they have if they don't get some new leadership soon.
Yeah, for everyone who works under him, for their sake, I hope this deal goes through.
Yeah.
And as a bonus, Game Pass gets a bunch of good games, but
Yeah, that
You know,
too. Obviously,
it's a
as
win-win.
obviously as like me personally as the consumer, I'm like, yeah, put them, get acquired. Give me Call of Duty on Game Pass. Give me Diablo 4 on Game Pass. I'll fucking love all that stuff. Yep.
I will say though, one thing to add is that I've been following this deal and pieces of news coming out, and the UK, they're being a bunch of dummies because they're chastising Microsoft for being the world leaders in cloud gaming, and because they have no competition, they could foresee this as being supremely dangerous. First of all, they're the leaders in cloud gaming because all the other competitors, they don't know how to manage that arm of their business.
Mm-hmm.
Google Stadia obviously failed, not for lack of trying, but they let that fumble. Amazon not doing shit all with it. So don't punish Microsoft for being good at their jobs and trying to facilitate this new part of the gaming industry. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I do feel like Microsoft is probably the. I think they probably are the number one competitor in the cloud streaming race right now. Because obviously, like you said, Google tried, they failed. Like their model just did not work out. I know Amazon does have Luna, and that does seem to be more favorable. Like I've heard good stuff about the streaming tech in Luna. It's just that I haven't heard like the wide adoption of Luna itself. So there's that. I know Nvidia has GeForce Now, which seems.
Yeah.
I've tried that a little bit and it seems pretty cool. It's just that it's not something I would want to use all the time, where they allow you to stream any game you own. But the problem with that is a lot of publishers are not agreeing to that kind of deal.
Mm.
So they pulled a lot of games from GeForce Now. So it's not perfect in the library. And I think that's probably a big issue for them there. But from what what little I've tried of that was also pretty good. And then Google Stadia, I tried way back then when they first beta tested. I tell this story a lot where I tried out Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like I think it was like a couple months after it released, and tried it on their beta cloud thing. It ran decent. There were some hitches there, but after the beta ended, they gave me a free copy on PC. So I was like, oh cool, thanks for the free copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after that, I never really touched Google Stadia at all. So cloud gaming definitely still has a ways to go for sure. Microsoft is like the biggest competitor there, but like you said, I kind of feel like it's because the other ones aren't just trying hard enough because of that. Anything else to say on this topic here for Game Pass?
Nope. Let's move on.
Nope. Okay. So sticking with the Microsoft realm, there was a little bit of confusion going around this past weekend for Redfall, because it seemed that Redfall was only going to be having a code in the box on retail. Due to an FAQ on Bethesda's website, it seemed like. But then Bethesda did clarify it and did say there is going to be a Blu-ray disc there. And this does follow up from when they did confirm that Redfall is going to be online only. So there was a lot of negative sentiment going around Redfall. Was, it's online only, it's not going to have a disc, but now it is going to have a disc. So a lot of back and forth going around that I saw here. And I want to go off first with this by saying, like, if this was true, if there was a digital code in the box, I would say that I don't like that. That's just a really waste of physical space on the shelf. That's a waste of materials for the box. But
That is true.
I think in the overall, I think it really doesn't matter due to the fact that the game is online only. So you would have had to have internet either way to play this game. I feel like the biggest example I can give is Destiny 1, Destiny 2. Those games are obviously online only. They came with the disc. Destiny 1, you can still play today. That's still available there. Those assets are still there. But Destiny 2, that disc, I think, is probably useless to this day now, because all the content that was in the first disc, they just got rid of it. You can't play that content in the game anymore.
Shit,
yeah, you can't play it anymore, so it doesn't really matter at all. And the fact that the game's free to play as well, so you don't need a disc for it at all. I know a lot of online games do this. Final Fantasy 14, I believe, is like another example of this, where they had a disc for like the base game itself, but the expansions, they're not on disc. Those are just download codes. I've seen like a couple of the boxes like at retail and stuff, and it's just like, why? I know like shelf space. Yeah, they exist. Why? Like I'm like, I know shelf space is important to like, it's like basically advertising, but at the same time, it's just like, why waste all the money for these materials that you're wasting on the box to put it on shelves. Fortnite is another one I see a whole lot in retail where it's just costumes and stuff like that. Yeah. Like it's just a box with a code for costumes and stuff. I'm just like, why are you doing this? That's just not
plastic.
It's a waste of plastic, exactly. But yeah, that's my take on it. What about yours?
I think the story is mostly a non-story. I mean, people thought there was no disc. Turns out there is a disc, so it's just a big misunderstanding. And even still, even if there were just a code, I think there was just a big kerfuffle for nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, listen, what purpose does a disc serve anymore these days? It doesn't matter. You put the disc in your box. You still have to wait 5 hours for your game to download and install. The physical disc does not speed up the process whatsoever, in my experience. The only thing you do to yourself is that you remove the convenience of digital gaming. Because then, if you want to play something else, you got to take out the disc and put something else in, and then you have to deal with managing where your disc is at all times. So, and for the whole online only thing, like your entire console, 90% of it doesn't even function if you don't have an internet connection. If you don't have an internet connection, what are you doing? Why do you have a PS5 or an Xbox? Okay, and also, 9 out of 10 of your games they need an internet connection at all times anyway. So stop whining about Redfall being online only.
Yeah, I don't really get the like complaints about it being online only. I know I'm a little torn on the fact that about the digital versus disc versions of stuff, because like as we like seen like these past couple years, like Sony tried to shut down the PS3 and PS Vita store. Nintendo is shutting down the 3DS and the Wii U eShops like pretty soon. And then Microsoft, I believe was it the Xbox? No, I could be wrong about that. I know there was a whole story about the 360 store maybe shutting down, but I don't remember if that was actually confirmed or not.
I want to say you're right.
But a lot of that stuff is that it's like it's kind of I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but it's kind of like sad that a lot of these storefronts are starting to shut down, and like these were the first digital storefronts for these like consoles, for these manufacturers. Like PS3 was the first time Sony embraced the online culture. Microsoft, obviously they had the original Xbox, but the 360 is like when it really like blew up. And then Nintendo is just like, well, they tried with the Wii. The Wii wasn't really an online focused machine. You did have like the small downloadable contents, but that really wasn't as popular. Wii U, obviously that failed. But, like there's like so many good games on there as well. But at the same time, most of those did get ported to Switch. 3DS is the one that's more unique because of that dual screen system where you really can't replicate that on any modern hardware currently. And so a lot of those games and DLCs are just going to be lost to time once that shuts down. And I know there's like other methods to get access to those. Won't talk about that here. But like in official ways, a lot of that stuff is just going to be lost to time. And so it kind of bummer. And so I kind of feel like physical helps out with that a lot, because you can't take those away from people. You know, those a lot of those, especially for Nintendo, like a lot of it is on the cartridge. I know nowadays for like Sony and Microsoft, the disc is like a lot of more DRM stuff. But I think specifically for Nintendo, they handle physical a lot better, I want to say, where you just plop the game in and you can play immediately, as compared to Xbox and Sony, where you put the disc in, gotta wait for it to install, gotta wait for updates, and your disc is basically just a DRM check for that right there. But yeah, I think this story is just like a big whole hullabaloo over nothing really, because even if it was a code in the box, it's an online only game. If the servers did shut down at one point, your disc is not going to do anything for you anyway. So whole lot of nothing with that one, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And now if we're done with that, we're actually going to go over to, there's a new piece of hardware releasing next week, and that's called the PSVR2. And we've got a review roundup from you, courtesy of, let me see here, GameSpot, actually. So they rounded up a whole bunch of reviews here, and so I got a couple right here. From GameSpot, here's a quote from Tamar Hussein. I hope that Sony and its partners are starting to think outside the box a bit more when it comes to games and commit to supporting the platform long-term in a meaningful way. The excellent hardware deserves as much. If they do, the future of PSVR2 will be exciting. But for now, that excitement is built on the same thing VR has always enticed hopefuls with potential. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. Excuse me. Gabriel Moss from IGN writes, with top-notch visuals and immersively tactile sense controllers, PSVR2 represents a quantum leap over its predecessors, setting a new standard for console VR gaming. And then VGC gave it a 4 out of 5 from Jordan Midler. PSVR2 is an amazing headset, but whether it's worth to the average PS5 user is yet to be seen, as despite the amazing technology, the software so far isn't enough to convince most to run out and buy one. So we have a couple more here, but I think that's just like the general gist of what it is. It seems like overall the hardware is good. It is worth it for the money it is. But the biggest downside to it is like the library, and if Sony actually does commit to it in the future, because from what the launch library I've seen, it's mostly just a lot of ports and like unexciting games that have like already been on other VR systems. And then from what I've heard, like Horizon Call of the Mountain isn't like the must play game for the console, and that's like or the accessory or whatever. And like I still don't know how I feel about PSVR 2, because me personally, I'm not gonna pick one up. $550 for it, that's like more than the console itself, and with like no backwards compatibility. Apparently the Sense controllers have a really bad battery life, which, shocker, PlayStation and battery life seems to be not great from my experience. And like just the games like are just stuff I can play elsewhere. Stuff you can play on a Quest 2 or Meta Quest 2 or whatever they want to call it. And so I don't know if this is gonna entice like the general consumer. I kind of feel like this is just gonna be a hardcore VR enthusiast platform, and I'm curious to see if Sony supports it, because their track record hasn't been amazing with stuff that doesn't sell well. Vita, they abandoned that really quick. PSVR 2 was a bit better, but I kind of feel like that wasn't enough as well. There was a lot of third-party support on that, but first parties just wasn't great on that. And I kind of worry. I'm worried, and I'm interested to see like how it's gonna do once it releases next week. What about you?
Well, I can tell you, I did not buy a PSVR 2 because I don't own a PS5.
Fair.
And if I wanted to buy a PS5 and a PSVR 2, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. Especially in Canada.
Oh, yeah. Especially since they bumped the PS5 price up worldwide, except in the US.
So the thing with this piece of hardware, okay, so my friend who's he's a fanboy of PlayStation, so he'll buy anything and everything that they put out. And even he was like pretty skeptical about this thing. He even canceled his pre-order and then changed his mind and pre-ordered it again. That's how fickle he is. So I've seen a review from Digital Foundry on the PSVR 2, and it does look like a really dope piece of tech. It has what I think what a lot of other VR headsets don't have is just style. The thing is really slick. It's white. It's very user friendly. You slide the thing back and forth to adjust it to your head, and the screen is super light, and the controllers, which apparently are just a copy off of some other headset that I can't remember right now. But
the MetaQuest ones, they look very similar to those. Oh wait, no, they don't. Which one is it? I don't know which one it is actually. MetaQuest is different. Now that I think about it,
is it the Vive? I don't know.
Maybe
anyway,
I can't remember which one it is.
The Sense controllers are so I've been told very good to use. And the screen, like the numbers, we knew about the numbers, but in practice, the screen does hold up very nicely. And they have this cool feature called the theater mode, where you can play games, like regular games, on your headset. So it's like you got a really high resolution screen a few inches from your face, and you're playing like God of War Ragnarok or whatever, which is pretty cool. So yeah, all the PSVR 2 sounds really cool on paper, but I don't know if I could tell you it's worth however many hundreds of dollars to buy and own. Call of the Mountain, again, it looks cool. You can shoot a bow and arrow, right, and climb mountains. But I guess it doesn't really go much further than tech demo territory.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you said before, I think the PSVR2 it probably is like one of the better headsets out there in the market so far. Because I know like the Index, the Valve Index, that one's like if you want everything for that, that's like $1,000. But like at this point, like the tech is pretty outdated for that. It came out like a couple years ago, if I recall correctly. And so this one is like the newest one on the market. It has all the latest tech, and like for $550 compared to everything else, that does seem like a steal. But if you're asking someone with a PS5 or someone who doesn't have a PS5 to pay $50 more than the PS5 to grab it, that's where you lose me a bit, to be honest, because that's just gonna add up. Plus the games you gotta buy because there's nothing with backwards compatibility. A couple of old VR1 titles are getting free updates, but that's not for everything, and so we don't know if everything is gonna get ported over, if everything is free. So that's like a kind of a big worry. I know like a while back they announced Beat Saber was coming to the platform, but it wasn't at launch, and I'm just like, how do you not have Beat Saber at launch? Like that's one of like the biggest VR titles, and like it's not at launch. That's
only
kind of
VR title people play.
that's like kind of weird to me there. And I'm just like, wow, like and the rest of these are just like ports, other port. I mean, like it's not bad to be a port, but like if you can play it somewhere else for cheaper, it's like, okay, well, why pay $550 for that, And people are like hung up, not everyone, but people are hung up a bit on the wire. And I'm just like, well, the wire, I can see why they have it. You have to get the power from the PS5 to do that. And so that's all right. But the headset itself, I think
USB-C.
Yeah, exactly. You just plug into the front of the console and you're good to go. Like I said, the headset itself probably does seem like good tech. It's just the games and the support that I'm worried about, and the price as well. I think the first couple weeks we're gonna see that the launch. I don't know how. I'm interested to see how the numbers are. I want to know like how the numbers are gonna be.
I don't expect stellar first weekend purchases.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the numbers. Like I want to see like a year from now how Sony has supported the platform itself. Like if they're gonna have a lot more first parties on there, or if it's just going to be another Vita situation where they're like, okay, here's an Uncharted, and oh, look at the time, we gotta go.
Here, take a visual novel once in a while. To be honest, I like VR. I feel it's been more of a fad than anything. Because yeah, we have all these cool headsets now, but I don't really see. We keep saying, oh, VR tech, it's new, but it'll get better eventually. But it still feels like we're in that beginning era, and we've made like small leaps in progress. Like it's like just now with the PSVR2 and I guess the Meta Quest 2, we're getting they got USB-C, and now you don't need like a bunch of towers around in your room to make it function. And then like Meta, they're making the Quest Pro, which is absurdly expensive and has all these other fandangles that make it nice and shiny. But I don't really see people talking about VR all that often still. It's just not commonplace. And I wonder how much longer it's gonna last. Is it PSVR2? Is it just gonna, do they send it out to die because they already had it ready to go and they couldn't just cancel like they did the Batgirl?
Yeah, I wanted to like take this opportunity to like actually jump into a different topic because about VR, because that was originally going to be the topic of the show for today, but obviously it's only us two, and I don't know how long we can keep a topic like that in hand. But like the future of VR, like how do we think about that? Because like you mentioned before, there's like the Quest 2, we have PSVR 2 now, Index and Vive are like years old at this point. Apple has a rumored headset coming out who knows when. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, is VR like gonna catch on anymore? Because I kind of feel like it like you said, it's becoming more of a fad now. I kind of feel like a couple years ago VR was like hitting more mainstream, but nowadays you really just don't hear much about it anymore. Where it's like only the hardcore like are like invested into that. You mentioned the Meta Quest Pro. That's like that's like $1,500. That's like that's expensive for a headset, and like. I'm sure that's not targeted to consumers, but people see that price and it's like, there's no way I'm paying $1,500 for a headset like that,
It's and also like VR games. No one plays VR games for a long amount of time. Like people, they try out. Okay, I don't know every VR game out there, but people try out Job Simulator for like or Power Wash Simulator for a few hours, and then they just go back and play Beat Saber. People
Exactly.
only play Beat Saber on VR. That is it. You don't need
Yeah.
any other game on your VR headset.
I can contest to that because I had a Meta Quest or Oculus Quest or whatever. I had Beat Saber. I had Vader Immortal. I had like a table tennis kind of game. I had VR chat. I would just play Beat Saber. Beat Saber is like the only one I would occasionally go back to.
It's just like the novelty of VR comes from showing your friends and family VR for the first time and seeing how they react.
Yeah,
And then that's it. And then once that happens, what do you do? That's why, like for me, I would love to have a VR headset and show my girlfriend's family because it would be hilarious to watch them fumble around the TV room. But that's not a lot of longevity. So I can't really justify investing in a headset and a PC or console to run that headset as well.
exactly. Yeah. Um, there was a point I was gonna get to, but I totally forgot about it.
And it's funny because Microsoft, like people years ago, people were like clamoring for Microsoft to invest into VR because they were the only company. Well, I guess Nintendo, but really Nintendo's like a whole other deal.
Hey man, Nintendo got that
Microsoft.
Labo, huh? Labo VR.
Oh yeah, Labo, right? But Microsoft, they were just so disinterested in VR, and in their recent round of layoffs, they just dismantled their AR team. So Hololens is no longer a thing anymore. in
Yeah,
any
I
shape or
remember
form.
that E3 they had where they were showcasing Hololens with like Minecraft and stuff,
It was
and
years ago, yeah.
yeah, that just
And
never came to fruition.
so I guess hindsight's 2020, but I guess it's pretty fortunate they never funneled that much money into VR gaming because maybe they foresaw it not really taking off.
Yeah, and like I just remember my point now. Half-Life Alex was like a couple years ago. People were saying like this is the must-play VR title, and like it's been a couple years, and like I haven't heard any other game that says that's been released that's like a must-play. Like if it, I want to see when did Half-Life Alex release exactly? Because
Let's say 2019.
I'm gonna look it up, but it's definitely an issue if nothing else has released in that time that's like must play. So 2020, it was a 2020, so like 2 years, and like I haven't heard any other game that's a must play for VR. Like is to me that sounds like an issue, where if this platform doesn't have a must play in in 2 years since, that just kind of screams to me like, well, why should I invest in this if it's only one game that's must play?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And and the final thing is VR, it's still not affordable. You know, we've been talking about this since Oculus 1 came out, I don't know when, 2013. It's still expensive and inaccessible for people like me who don't have a ton of money to shop around.
Yeah,
You know, it's been all this time. We've had I don't know how many innovations. I don't think there's been many, but there's been innovations, and it's still, if not more expensive than before. And I get it, economy sucks, inflation, pandemic happened, so the price of heavy metals has never been higher. But how usually as technology gets better and more streamlined, they find ways to cut costs in a good way and make things more affordable for the people.
yeah.
And we've been trending the opposite direction.
I definitely think the Quest was the most affordable option, but then they jacked the price up by
They
$100.
raised the price of that, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like no longer like even that affordable anymore. So, like you said, it's definitely the price is definitely a barrier to entry, and it's just I don't know how long VR is gonna be like a thing. I kind of feel like I don't want to put this out there, but I kind of feel like in the next couple years, unless something major happens in the VR space, I kind of feel like we'll start to see VR fizzle out.
I would not be shocked if Apple decides to can their rumored VR project.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked if the Meta Quest Pro is the last we hear of VR.
Yeah. And like Greg Miller, like back before PSVR2 like was like actually released, like when they first announced it, he was talking about him saying that he wouldn't be surprised if Sony just cancels PSVR2 entirely. And like I was
wrong
like,
there.
yeah, he was wrong there, but like at the same time, I agreed with him. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they canceled PSVR2. I wouldn't be shocked if they discontinued PSVR2 in like 3 years if it doesn't sell well. To be honest, as well. I feel like if PSVR2 doesn't hit the mark, that this is the last VR we're gonna see from Sony.
I don't think there's gonna be a PSVR 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's gonna be an Index 2 or a Quest Pro or a Meta Quest 3 or a new Vive. I don't know what the Vive people are doing these days, but I don't think there's gonna be more of that.
That was HTC. Did they still make phones? I know they used to make phones. I don't know. But yeah, like you said, for the Index, like I don't know, Valve is the wild card there because they do a lot of stuff. They just released a Steam Deck like last year, and so like I could see them focus more on like the Steam Deck 2 or whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah,
but
handhelds, that's where it's at.
Yeah, handhelds are making a comeback. Look at the Switch, did well. Steam Deck starting to do well. Sony, I say I want them to make a new handheld, but like I don't know. After the Vita, I'm just like
the Vita 2, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. So, but yeah, that's all for our news stories for this week. We're gonna get into some crossplay to talk about what we've been playing. So, Gaff, I know you got some stuff you said you've been playing, so let me hear it.
All right, so let's get into the Persona 5 Royal spoiler cast because I have 100% Persona 5 Royal in my second ever playthrough of the game. And all right, that just proves how good of a fan I am because some people will say, yeah, I'll pick up Persona again because it came out on new platforms. I'll give it a shot. They'll play it for like a couple hours. Maybe they'll get past Kamoshida's castle and then never finish the game. But I kept it going. I played the game and I played the hell out of it. I played it much better than the first time because first time I played it my own way and goofed around a lot and was very inefficient. This time I followed a guide because if I'm going to spend another 100-something hours on this game, I'm gonna do everything I can and get all the achievements because I don't know if I'll play it a third time or anytime soon. So I got every single achievement. I maxed out all my confidants. I fused such overpowered personas this time around that I was just crazy. I was cracking through like the final 2 bosses, no problem. I mentioned before I fused for Izanagi no Akami to fight the final main game boss, and Mirror Truths is the most ridiculous move ever. And then before fighting Maruki in the third semester, I just went on I was cracked. I was on a fusing spree. I made Satan, and then I fused for Lucifer, and then I fused for Izanagi no Akami Picaro, which is like another DLC.
Yeah, it's a
Persona?
DLC one. I believe. Yeah, I don't even know what the difference between those are, just besides the color. So,
I read up on some lore. Picaro is like, Picaro means it's a version that's more of an affinity towards Joker's like Joker side versus the original is like belongs to the original owner of that persona. Yeah. So that's the in-game explanation for Picaro. But I fused for Maria, which is the ultimate persona for the Faith Confidant, and Maria is ridiculous. She heals you to like max health every turn, so you never ever die. And then she reduces the cost of your healing spells for so you can just heal everyone if they're ever down low, and her healing spell is just like ridiculous. It's like revive all your teammates to full HP and cure all status ailments. So I had no problem fighting the boss this time around. And yeah, I definitely got a lot more burnt out towards like Shido's Palace this time because I was really rushing through the game. But however, by the end, I felt a lot more accomplished because I did so much and I got all the achievements. I felt like a much better Persona player this time around for sure. I even maxed out. I didn't even know that you could improve your technicals in my first playthrough, so I did that. I played a ton of billiards to do that.
Get that pool table going.
Yep. And I mean, also, I didn't even take advantage of technicals really in the first game. I didn't really understand it, but I looked up like a chart to show me which moves get boosted depending on what status elements the enemy has. So
Yeah.
that really helped me take down personas faster and overall reduce my like the amount of time I need to spend in palaces. At the end of the game, I clocked in at like 95 hours or something, whereas the first time took me 120 hours. So I think that's a pretty great improvement.
Yeah, you mentioned the technicals and like in the first game and like yeah, base game didn't really explain technicals all that much that I barely used them. And then Royal, like they greatly enhanced upon them. So like there's a lot more useful. And obviously you can like level them up and stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot more helpful. What else? Yeah, like you also said, like the clocking the hours. Like I played base Persona 5 like twice back to back for the platinum trophy. Then when Royal came out, I played that in like 2 weeks because like it was like so close to Final Fantasy 7 remake, and like I put like I think it was like close to like 90 hours, like you said there. Um,
Nice.
Mostly because I did like was skipping out. I skipped the stuff that like, I already like saw that wasn't different. Like I had like in my mind like it was like fresh like okay, what did I already see, what's new here, and so definitely helps out to like know what the differences are. um
I definitely fast forwarded through dialogues that I didn't give a shit about.
yeah,
Like I don't
exactly.
care about Mishima's confidant
A lot of the confidants are
or
the same, yeah, so I skipped
that
through a lot of
arcade
that stuff.
kid. Yeah.
And yeah, I use a guide for that as well to like to get them all maxed out. Like if you use a guide, like you can finish with so much free time before the game even ends.
I know. December and January, like I had nothing to do during the nighttime.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing. I felt bad when I had to just like I just like I crafted tools or I made curry for like the bajillion time.
I just might have Joker workouts and can buff those stats. I'm like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do here.
Yeah. And the twins, they stopped being. I couldn't hang out with them anymore for whatever reason. I stopped getting that option, so I couldn't. I still got the confidant, but I couldn't take them out on like the dates, quote unquote, anymore. And
Yeah.
get those skill cards. So yeah.
No, you
And
said
I got a ton of gifts. I hung out with all my confidants again, and I got a bunch of cool gifts in my room. So it was all very well decorated.
yeah, I got all the trophies on PlayStation. Like I was gonna do another run through the game to get all the Thieves Den achievements. I'm just like, nah, it's just a little too much at this point.
Thieves Den. Oh man, that's like a whole other.
Yeah, you gotta fight both super
can word.
bosses. You gotta like date everybody, friend zone everybody. So it's like
Yeah.
a lot of stuff to do there. I just mainly hang after the game ended. I mainly hanged out in the season to play. What's the card game? Tycoon. I'm just like, yeah, let's play some Tycoon here.
And one day I may do New Game Plus because in New Game Plus you keep all the personas in your compendium. Do you keep your money too?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah. So because you can only fuse for Sentinel in New Game Plus, so I may do that and just breeze through it all again. And for once, romance a different character instead of Makoto for the third time, or maybe I'll do it for the third time. Who knows? But yeah, this is the first game I ever 100%ed. So
really,
I'm very happy it was Persona 5 Royal. Yeah. Because it was definitely very doable because of the guide, and there was no bullshit like collectibles to collect or no multiplayer achievements or whatever. So.
Yeah, the achievement / trophy list is definitely a lot easier than base games. Base games basically requires you to do a second playthrough,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it should be 100%able on the first playthrough. That is the commandment of achievements. And then besides Persona 5 Royal, I finally started Hi-Fi Rush. I am 2 chapters away from beating it as of this moment. It is a fucking fun game, man. I'm sure with a lot of other people, it took me some time to really get the vibe of the game going, nailing the rhythm. I'm still not especially good at it, but the game is definitely very forgiving for hitting things on beat, as you guys mentioned. So I'm still able to succeed and pull off combos and get my score up. And then once they gave you the parrying feature, that added like a whole other dimension to the game. And and I was like, okay, this game's pretty fucking dope. The characters are nice and charming. Chai and Peppermint. I I really like their dynamic. Macaron, he's cool, and Corsica's best girl. I love her, and her boss fight, just floored me. That was incredibly
Yeah.
fun, to do, for sure. Yeah, the game's good. Platforming, there are some platforming sections, and 3D platforming. I mean, I'm not good at them. I don't know if it's the game's fault or it's my fault, but those were a little cumbersome at times. But every other aspect of the game is top notch. I don't really have any complaints about it, besides the fact that I'm not good at it.
Yeah, you mentioned the platform. I do kind of think like moving in the air, it feels like a little weird. It's not like perfect, but it's not really like the main part of the game. Like, I can like kind of like go, not really worry about that.
Yeah, and if you die when you fall off the platform, you just respawn in like less than a second.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
Lose, like, a sliver of health, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And and I'm playing some Master Duel. There's an event going on called the Legend Anthology where
It's the first anniversary for Master Duel.
exactly. So on top of like all the goodies they gave you for the first anniversary, like including you get like a Royal Rare card and 30 master packs if you want to buy that bundle. So in this event, the only cards that are not banned are anime cards. So the 3 loner decks are Blue Eyes, Dark Magician, and Slifer. Blue Eyes is probably the most viable one out of those 3, because you just summon a bunch of beat sticks and just whack your opponent, because Dark Magician and Slifer, they're gonna break most of the time anyway. So you don't need to worry too much about the crackback. But I already had a hero. I had a Neos deck built already because of the new support that came out.
Oh yeah.
Because I've been playing that in real life, and it finally came to Master Duel, so I was really excited. So I've been using that to just clap people running Blue Eyes, no problem. And that's it for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the first anniversary with the royal rare, with the royal cards, whatever. I pulled my first pack. So first of all, they're like, "Oh, you can pick whichever one you want," but what they don't tell you is that it's randomized. Like you can't see which one you're picking.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "All right, well, let me just, I guess, pick a random one." I picked one. It was the Astrograph Sorcerer pack or whatever. The royal rare I got. Royal Rare Supreme King Dragon Zark, which I do use in my decks. I'm like, yeah.
Oh shit! All right. That's pretty awesome. That card's crazy. I think it's banned in real life too.
Probably. Right? I don't know. I listen, I have like an Odd Eyes deck, and then just like, let me tell you, the combo list is like, whoosh, it's like long. You're like, okay, I gotta do this, then this, and this, and this, and this. It's just like so much work.
I've never understood pendulums even to this day.
Listen, man, I'm not good at deck building in Yu-Gi-Oh. All right, I just followed a guide online, and it's like, all right, use these cards.
Yeah, same.
And then use this this strategy list.
Do it in this order.
Yeah, it's like do it in this order. I'm like, all right, so I literally have it pulled up when I'm playing my computer. I'm like, all right, so what do I do? Okay, this card, this card, and this card. All right. And then obviously I improvise if it doesn't work. If I don't have the right cards for it. But there was like one where they're like, oh, here's how you can use Supreme King Dragon Zark with this deck. I'm like, oh, maybe I can try that. And so I do, and it's just like, oh yeah. So if I'm in trouble, I'm like, all right, how do I get this specific monster I need to summon Zark so I can wipe their field? And I'm like, oh, when it comes together, I'm just like, oh, now you're screwed, buddy. Your whole field's about to be wiped out.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, if you summon Zark, you basically win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Awesome.
All right.
So what have you been playing?
All right. Going back to some rhythm games, I've been playing Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. And that is the Final Fantasy rhythm game that just came out this past week. And let me tell you, I bought the $80 edition because I want all those songs. And I've been having a blast with it, man. I already have like 10 hours into the game. I'm just going with the music. I'm like, yeah, this is great. They have like a couple modes you can play in there. They have what I've been mainly playing, the Series Quest, which is basically you're picking a specific Final Fantasy game and you're just playing through all the songs in that game. And so I'm just like going through each game, like I'm just going around here and there. Sometimes I'm like, all right, let me go play a old game. All right, let me go play a modern game. Let me go play a couple old games. Let me go play a modern game. Let me go play a spin-off, because they have like even the spin-off stuff in there as well. They have like a couple of the mobile games in there as well. I'm just like, oh, that's a nice like touch you guys did there. I was gonna save the Final Fantasy 14 stuff for last, but like I played through a lot of it yesterday and beat it, and I'm just like, God damn, this music is just so good. There are a couple notable exclusions that I wish were there, but I can't really complain because Final Fantasy 14 has the most songs out of all the other games in the game. So I'm just like, all right,
Makes sense.
yeah, it's an MMO with a couple expansions, so it makes sense. But I'm just like, damn, I really wish you just had these few songs in here. Also played through the Final Fantasy 15 sound, and like, god damn, I forgot how much of a banger Final Fantasy 15 is. Like, gameplay wise, I'm like still a little iffy on. It wasn't really the best. They forced an open world where it really didn't need to be an open world game in there. There were a bunch of story stuff where I just wasn't vibing with. But that soundtrack just fucking hit. That soundtrack, Yoko Shimomura was. It's that GIF where the dude's playing the piano, it's on fire. That's basically what it is. It's that's that whole soundtrack right there. It's so good. Play through Final Fantasy VII. That's a classic one. I want to do, like, if a game has a sequel to it, so like Final Fantasy VII and like its other games in it, or 13 and 13-2. If it has a sequel, I want to play the base stuff first before I head on to the sequel. So that's what I'm like doing right now. Trying to finish up all the classic games because I really don't have the knowledge of those games. So I just want to save the ones I really played for last. But so far, it's just been like a good time, just like banging out to like some music. Like, I was just sitting here with my headphones plugged into my Switch yesterday, just like banging out while going to the tune. It's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Your neck's gonna get sore.
Yeah, I know. The DLC packs I'm waiting for. So I bought the $80 edition, which comes with the first season pass. Excuse me. That comes with I believe it's like Romancing Saga, which I'm not really too interested in. I don't have knowledge with that game. But it's gonna come with Nier, and I believe the World Ends With You stuff. So I'm definitely interested in those. The other DLC packs, if I could have paid for the $100 edition, I would have gotten everything. But I'm just like, well, I'm just going to probably piecemeal everything else because I'm not really interested in all the other games they're offering. So I'll get the Nier and the World Ends With You stuff. I believe that's with the pack I got. And then, so they already laid out all the other DLCs besides like 2 packs. There's 2 packs that are unknown. I'm hoping for like Final Fantasy 16 stuff if it ever comes. I kind of doubt it. I think there was an interview stating that they're not planning to do more 14 or 16 songs, so I'll have to see what those 2 DLC packs are, but I'm mainly in for the DLC for Nier and the World Ends With You. And, Xenogears. Never played Xenogears, but I'm interested in trying out the music for that whenever that comes out, so that's going to be some fun there. Theater Rhythm, good game. It's probably going to be the last one. I know they did an interview saying like, yeah, this is probably be the last one. And I'm just like, dang, that's kind of sucks because like we're not going to get 16 music. We're not going to have Endwalker music for 14. So, but I'm happy with what we got here. It's definitely a great game so far.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm about Final Fantasy. Unfortunately, Sam and Steven are not here.
For sure. I've been playing some more Hitman Freelancer. Again, I talked about this already. Thank you to IO and Keymailer for providing a code for that. Just playing more of that. Definitely is. I think I'm definitely winding down on it because I haven't played all the maps in the base Hitman game. So Freelancer does require, I feel does require you to like have map knowledge of like all these maps it's bringing you into, because if you don't know what it is, it's a roguelike mode in Hitman 3, which they now rebranded to Hitman World of Assassination, where you just get plopped down into a map. You have these targets you have to find, and you have to eliminate them. The items, I believe, are mostly randomized around the map. So it's definitely really tough because you can't save, and if you lose your equipment, you lose half the money you have. So it's definitely really hardcore. It's definitely something you should play after you completed like the base Hitman game story, which I haven't done. I've only played like a couple levels just like to get knowledge of the Hitman game itself. And so Freelancer definitely is like the final thing you should take on for sure. And I'll definitely hint about that in my review. I'm definitely working on that. I was gonna do more work on that yesterday, but like yesterday was just not a good day for me at all. So might be pushed back just a little bit, but I still think that Freelancer, it is pretty good. You just need to go in with the knowledge that it's not for newcomers at all. It's definitely for people who are experienced with the Hitman games.
Yeah. I never really vibe with Hitman, as I'm just awful at stealth and strategy and being creative, which is and three things that Hitman requires of you.
Yeah.
Plus I don't have a PS4, so I couldn't play it.
Well, it's on like Xbox as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think Steven said it was on Game Pass is what it was as well, but yeah, they provided us a PS4 code and it gave me like the PS5 copy as well, so that's what I'm playing on. But yeah, I like you, I wasn't really into Hitman before. When they sent us the key, they listed a list of games or like that they said we would let me rephrase that. They sent a list of games saying that if we like these games, we'll like Hitman. And so they had like Assassin's Creed, Metal Gear Solid on that stuff. So I was like, all right, let me check this out. Plus I wanted to like, I wanted to cover it because it is a pretty big game. So I feel like it would have been good to cover it. And so it was my first time with Hitman. And like, I definitely played only a few maps from Hitman 1. And yeah, like I said, definitely is a lot harder if you don't know the maps. Like a lot of the time you're just like wandering around trying to get a lay of the land, trying to get some gear to take out the targets, and it's definitely really hard. Like if you get alerted and people know your presence, it's gonna be a tough time for sure. And then there was one more thing before we go. There was one point where I was playing on stream last time, and so the game spawned me into a no trespassing zone, and so I was just there hiding in the bushes. There was 2 guards who I was trying to take out to try to get their outfits, and so it didn't work well. One of the guards spotted me. He said no trespassing. He was leading me outside the premises, and then when he led me outside the premises, there was 2 guards standing outside the door, who I guess immediately see you as suspicious once you get close to them. So the one guard just takes me outside. This other guard is immediately like, "Hey, who are you?" And I'm just like, "What am I gonna do here?" I just stand there, and then they start shooting me. And so even the guard who escorted me out, and I'm just like, "What the heck? What am I supposed to do here? What why'd you shoot me?" Like it was a frustrating moment there for sure. I was just like, I don't know what to do here. The guard was escorting me out. I should not be penalized for that if they're escorting me out. I took the escorting out option because I was like, all right, maybe I can do something with this. Maybe this can be an opportunity. And no, it just screwed me over. And that was when I was done with the stream for that day. I was just like, nope, I ain't dealing with this. So a little frustrating there, but it's still a good time to play for sure.
So we're just stuck there? Like, if you die, we just have to do it again? And that's
if you die, your run is just over. Or it's not completely over, but like it's you just lose your equipment that you brought with you on the mission, and you lose half your money. So I'm just like, well, I don't know what to do here then. It was just not great.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely
frustrating there. But yeah, that's all I've been really playing. I wish I could be playing Metroid Prime, but waiting for the physical, and then
about that.
Amazon is like, yo, you're not getting your physical till March. And I'm just like, oh, you what? So I'm going to have to look for a physical this Tuesday. So hopefully I can play Metroid Prime because I really want to play that.
Best of luck.
Yep. But I think that's it for our episode of X Interact for this week. Thank you all for listening. Tune in next week, and maybe we'll have some more of our guests, more of our co-hosts here again, because definitely been a wild time for all of us for sure. But make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast platforms. Follow us on social media to keep updated on the podcast. Twitter.com/xinteract_. YouTube.com/xinteract. Podpage.com/xinteract. Lots of xinteract again, like we said. Leave us a review. If you like the show, let us know. If you don't, let us know. Let us know we can improve. Reviews help us out a lot. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podcasts, whatever that platform is. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, leave us a review. Comments on YouTube, like, dislike, anything, any engagement helps us out a lot. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.